On the line with us right now, the king of the newsladder.net group of websites and by the way, the launcher of the news site breakupthebanks.com, James Boyce. James, welcome to the program.
Mario, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good.
Good. So tell us about breakupthebanks.com.
Yeah, it's actually
Oh,
breakupthebigbanks.com.
oh,
It's the big banks.
okay.
It's something that a friend of mine that's very active in Democratic politics came to me about a week or so ago, and I think like a lot of just average Americans, we've been sitting there going, well, wait a minute, they got $700 billion of our money last year, and all of a sudden, like, they didn't lend any of the money or do anything they were supposed to do, and then on top of that, now evidently they're making billions of dollars in profits and handing it out, and they just have too much power. They have too much political power, they have too much money, and they've caused, enormous damage to the economy. So what we're trying to do is get some people to think about this, and as the financial reform bills make their way through the Capitol, say, look, do we really want these big banks, controlling our world?
And they really do right now. It seems like, and it's really interesting because about a year ago or so, actually more than a year ago now, before everything collapsed, I had, and we have to get her back on again, Loretta Napoleoni, the international economist, come on to talk about the threat of economic interest growing more powerful than our elected representatives. And she talked about this as an emerging problem all throughout the world and the dangers that it had within it. And right now, that's basically almost what we're experiencing, right? Because it seems as if some of these
Absolutely.
financial institutions are stronger than our government.
Oh, absolutely they are. And the thing that's amazing is that she sounds like a very intelligent woman.
No, she really is. She's brilliant. She's brilliant.
I think it's the reality. And I'll give you an example, Mario. At the public, option, the healthcare debates, front and center around the country right now. And there's a lot of people going, oh, my gosh, this thing is going to cost, $800 billion over the next 10 years. Well, let me say, every American needs to understand that they gave these banks $700 billion in, about 30, 60 days last year. The money hasn't come back. The banks used it to make astronomical profits.
Right.
And part of our point is that, do you think these guys are going to, and you see it, do you think these guys are going to turn around and reform and become good citizens? And the answer is no. I mean, the guy from Goldman Sachs stands up and says, hey, look, it's a good thing that we're making $16 billion and handing it out to all our employees. It's a good thing. It's not a good thing. And so, we're just trying to get people to think about it and say, look, you really got to understand who these banks are, what they're doing, and that they really do kind of own the country at this point.
We're speaking of James Boyce, one of our favorite left-wing internet mavens, and he has a new site up, breakupthebigbanks.com, breakupthebigbanks.com. So what can people actually do? Because most people feel like they're looking at these guys, they're ripping us off in broad daylight, basically. And they feel like, well, what can I do to stop a guy that finds a way to give himself a $5 million bonus?
Well, I think what's interesting is you got to understand the success of the public option. The public option came out of the Finance Committee in the Senate, and the health care reform came out of the Finance Committee in the Senate, did not have the public option in it. The people put the public option back on the table. On the website, we have a petition that basically says, look, the big banks are unaccountable. They have too much economic power. They have too much political power. But, they can be broken up. And there's never really been an instance that we can think of in U.S. history when, an industry or a segment of an industry, because it's really the big banks we're talking about, has caused so much damage to the country and, frankly, gotten rewarded for it, with taxpayer money. So financial reform is coming to Capitol Hill, and we're trying to let people have their voices heard. It says, look, you guys got to break up these banks for the good of the country.
Well, right now there's a report that basically says that the profits at the big bailed out banks, of course, as you've mentioned earlier, are huge, but small banks are still like struggling quarter to quarter.
Absolutely, and that's the travesty of it, because it's the small banks, frankly, that could be out there in the communities around the country, Mario, helping local small businesses, and and just the profits are just obscene at these banks that receive the TARP money, and then on top of that, there weren't any really restrictions on that money, and the banks are saying no, we're not going to pay you back your money,
Right.
we'll pay it back sometime, but they like it, they got these banks got hundreds of billions of dollars in free loans from the government. And it's just outrageous, and it's and people need to pay attention to it, and that's what we're trying to do. We have a little kind of a fun website, with a
Yeah,
nice
it looks kind of
logo.
cool. I was just there. It looks really cool.
Yeah, and and we're just kind of saying, hey, look, the American people got to pay attention to this, because, like I said, our priorities in our country is out of whack. When we handed $700 billion to these guys last year, and we're debating health care for all Americans, which is costing approximately $800 billion. So, the numbers are comparable. $100 billion is a lot of money. But the numbers are comparable in terms of the U.S. government, and these guys just walked away with the money.
Yeah, that is amazing. James Boyce, good luck with this. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me on, Mario.
We'll talk to you soon. That's James Boyce. His new site, breakupthebigbanks.com. Breakupthebigbanks.com. And you heard him here live on the one and only Mario Solis Marich Show.